Our topic is Think Before You Drink, the effects of popular beverages on oral health, presented by Sierra Bergman, Jai Liu, Julie Murash, and Rihanna Studley. The three popular beverages that we will be discussing is kombucha, cold brew coffee, and dairy milk alternatives. For the objectives, first we want to identify important ingredients of popular beverages. Second, be able to list health benefits and risks associated with these beverages. And lastly, be able to describe the positive and negative effects of these beverages on oral health. Kombucha is currently among the top-selling fermented drinks, with sales revenue of $180 million in 2015. The global market for soy and almond milk was valued at $11.9 billion in 2017, and cold brew coffee sales grew by $38 million in 3 years. The global market in 2017 was valued at $321 million American dollars. Social media has had a large effect on health and diet trends. Kombucha, cold brew coffee, and dairy alternatives are gaining popularity in the food industry. There are many claims of health benefits of these beverages, but what are the oral implications?
Kombucha is a fermented tea drink that originated from China and has been consumed for over 2,000 years, where it was prized for its detoxifying and energizing properties. Kombucha is made through the fermentation process, where black tea and white sugar are the most common substrates. Tea leaves are added to boiling water and left to infuse for approximately 10 minutes. The leaves are then removed and sugar is added at about a ratio of 50 grams of white sugar per liter of solution. After cooling, it is then poured into a container where it is acidified with the addition of vinegar or already prepared kombucha. A previously prepared tea fungus made of bacteria and yeast is then placed on top, and you can see this in the picture to the left. That is the already prepared tea fungus that they're placing on top of the kombucha. Once it's placed, it's sealed and intubated for about 1 to 8 weeks, and depending on the incubation period, the drink can range from a sour, fruit-like flavor with shorter incubation periods to a vinegar-like flavor with longer incubation periods. So, health benefits linked to kombucha. Tea catechins, a phenollytic compound, are the most powerful antioxidant among the known plant phenols. Kombucha is known to have the highest amount of phenollytic compounds due to the fermentation process. These compounds are responsible for the many health benefits linked to kombucha. Kombucha is antimicrobial due to the powerful symbiosis formed by the presence of bacteria and fungi, which inhibit the growth of potential harmful bacteria. Kombucha enhances general metabolism and inhibits Helicobacter pylori, the bacteria responsible for intestinal ulcers. In a study testing the antioxidative and hypocholesterolemic properties of kombucha in rats fed with a high-fat diet, found that kombucha is capable of alleviating oxidative stress that adds to the progression of high cholesterol. It does this via its antioxidative properties that can also contribute to the reduction in frequency of cardiovascular disease.
A pH scale ranges from 0 to 14, 0 being the most acidic and 14 being basic. Dental erosion is a chemical dissolution of normal tooth structure in the absence of bacteria, solely on the presence of an acidic environment. Typically, pH below 4 can cause dental erosion. The critical pH is defined as a minimum pH level that the oral environment can be exposed to without the enamel undergoing chemical dissolution, which is around 5.5. According to research, the decrease in pH level is the primary determinant of a beverage's potential to erode enamel. Kombucha has a pH range of 2.5 to 3.5, below the critical pH of 5.5. This increases the possibility of dental erosion when consumed.
Now for the oral health effects of kombucha, starting with the beneficial properties. Kombucha has antimicrobial activity against karyogenic bacteria. Catechins inhibit Streptococcus mutans, which we know are the most common contributor to tooth decay. They do this by hindering the synthesis of insoluble glucans by inactivating glucotransferase, meaning inhibits the transfer of glucose and in turn inhibiting the formation of water-soluble glucans and lactic acid responsible for the acid attack on tooth structure. Kombucha can also reduce biofilm adherence and carries risk. A study that tested adherence of Streptococcus mutant cells, treated with fermented tea, smeared on a glass observation slide, showed that after 30 minutes, the bacteria were not able to colonize and form biofilm. They were also more vulnerable to antimicrobial agents, and we can determine from this study that kombucha will lower caries risk due to the significant reduction in adherence of Streptococcus mutans to glass, which represents the essential step of bacterial adherence to tooth. Now, for some of the negative properties, kombucha has a very low pH ranging from 2.5 to 3.5, much below the critical pH of 5.5, where dental erosion will occur. It's recommended not to consume more than 12 ounces a day, although most commercially sold kombucha ranges from 16 ounces to 18 ounces, meaning you're exposing yourself to possible health risks involved in excessive consumption, such as upset stomach, loose stool, allergic reactions, and in some serious cases, toxic reactions and metabolic acidosis. It is also recommended for new consumers to only intake small amounts, 2 to 4 ounces, to introduce the powerful probiotics and bacteria to the digestive system. And finally, alcohol content can be upward of 3%. Alcohol content is unavoidable due to the fermentation process where ethanol is a byproduct. It is important to be aware of possible alcohol content reaching 3%, where an average beer ranges from 4.2% to 5%. Alcohol can lead to increased xerostomia, which can increase tooth decay.
Dairy milk alternatives are gaining popularity due to the recent awareness of allergies to milk products, diet trends, and vegan lifestyle. Dairy milk alternatives are made from different plant-based alternatives. A lot of our research was based on soy and almond milk, but we also found studies that included other milk alternatives such as coconut, macadamia, flax, rice, cashew, and pecan beverages. Most dairy milk alternatives are made by mixing the main ingredients such as soybeans or almonds with water and then straining the mixture through a cloth. Most store-bought dairy milk alternatives are fortified with vitamins and minerals such as vitamin D and calcium. Fortification is a process where micronutrients such as vitamin D are added to the beverage to mimic the benefits of dairy milk. One interesting fact that we found about the production of dairy alternative beverages is that the process of making almond milk has a big environmental impact. Around 15 gallons of water is used to make just 16 almonds. Another impact is that the use of pesticides to produce almonds can contaminate nearby water supply. For the health benefits of dairy milk alternatives, coconut milk and almond milks have shown to have antimicrobial properties. Unsweetened almond milk has shown to have 65 to 80% less calories than cow's milk. Soy and almond milk are high in vitamin E, with added calcium and added vitamin D. And soy milk has less saturated fat and the same amount of protein as cow's milk.
Soy and almond milk are said to have a pH slightly higher than neutral, making it slightly basic and above the critical pH level. This makes it less likely to create dental erosion when consumed.
The oral health benefits of dairy milk alternatives are: soy beverages are thought to be healthier than cow's milk, and they contain the same amount of protein as cow's milk. A study was conducted by Santos and colleagues to compare the erosive potential of soy-based beverages to fruit juice beverages. The results showed that acidic beverages, such as fruit juice with soy added into them, had less erosive potential than without. For almond beverages, in a study conducted by Hang and colleagues, an array of dairy milk alternative beverages were compared in terms of cariogenic potential, pH, buffering capacity, enamel and dentin demineralization, bacterial cultivation, and biofilm formation. Results showed that the coconut almond blend had the strongest buffering capacity, which means the least potential for demineralization. The study also resulted in the unsweetened almond beverage having a pH above 5.5 after bacterial fermentation. Now for the oral health implications of dairy milk alternatives. For soy beverages, a study conducted by Shen and colleagues analyzed the effects of soy and cow's milk on enamel mineral contents. Enamel slabs with subsurface lesions were inserted in an intraoral appliance to be worn by participants while being exposed to cow's or soy milk over periods of time. The slabs that were exposed to soy milk showed that the surface lesions increased, yet the ones exposed to cow's milk decreased. This means that cow's milk encouraged remineralization, whereas soy milk produced demineralization. Saliva samples were also collected from participants, and the saliva from the individuals who consumed cow's milk had 6 times the calcium than participants exposed to soy milk. Soy beverage has a low calcium bioavailability due to an antioxidant compound called phytate, so calcium salts are added. However, calcium salts do not protect against demineralization. The high amounts of added sugar in these beverages combined with the low calcium bioavailability results in an increased carcinogenic potential. The study by Hang and colleagues showed that soy beverages supports the growth of S mutans, a double whammy. As for almond beverages, the same study conducted by Hang and colleagues showed the beverage with the strongest support of S mutans was almond beverage, even when diluted. The study also analyzed the loss of surface hardness, which was used to evaluate demineralization potential. No significant differences in surface hardness loss were observed between dentin and enamel slabs when exposed to almond milk or cow's milk. So this study shows that cow's milk has the same level of carcinogenicity as almond milk.
Cold brew coffee. What is it? It's a coffee beverage with a unique preparation, not to be confused with iced coffee. Iced coffee is brewed hot, whereas cold brew is never exposed to heat. It is made by coarse to medium ground coffee steeped at room temperature or cold water for 8 to 24 hours and then filtered. Longer brewing times are necessary because there is less kinetic energy at cooler temperatures, causing a slower rate of diffusion and extraction of particles. The longer brewing process may be why cold brew was rated equal to or greater than in flavor, with claims it is naturally sweeter and less acidic. Cold brew has more caffeine per cup at 150 milligrams compared to espresso. It is important to note that the variable of serving size could influence caffeine content. An average serving size of espresso is 30 milliliters, whereas an average serving size of cold brew is 120 milliliters. Therefore, 30 milliliters of cold brew may not contain more caffeine than 30 milliliters of espresso. Health benefits of cold brew coffee are that it reduces the risk of cardiovascular disease, including heart attack and stroke. Bioactive compounds in extracts improves function of macrophages and intestinal immune system. It reduces the risk of cirrhosis and type 2 diabetes. Coffee consumption has been linked to a higher longevity and decreases incidence of various diseases. A 2015 study showed association with 8 to 15% reduction in the risk of death. It is noted that drinking hot beverages above 149 degrees Fahrenheit may increase the risk of esophageal cancer. Average hot drinks range from 130 to 160 degrees Fahrenheit, so drinking cold brew eliminates that risk.
Cold brew coffee has a pH of 5.11, slightly below critical pH, which increases the chances of dental erosion but less erosive than kombucha. As you can see on the pH scale, the 3 different beverages are placed on the scale in order from most erosive to the least erosive abilities of these beverages.
The beneficial properties come from the result of 2 studies. The first study looked at C. albicans, a main bacteria in denture stomatitis. A study showed that even in the presence of nicotine, which enables C. albicans and S. mutans growth, the biofilm formation and metabolic activity decreased with increased concentration of caffeine. The second study looked at P. aeruginosa, a potent biofilm-forming organism. Bacteria were stained with acridine orange, which stains live and dead cells, and ethidium bromide, which stains only dead cells, and viewed under a fluorescence microscope. As you can see by the lack of staining under ethidium bromide, caffeine is not found to be antimicrobial. However, in another test, caffeine showed to target swarming motility, which is the movement of bacteria, and it reduced the secretion of virulence factors released. Caffeine significantly decreased biofilm aggregation with a minimum inhibitory concentration of 200 micrograms per milliliter. Negative properties of cold brew include staining, the potential of additional sweeteners which can feed bacteria and aid in acid erosion, halitosis, and xerostomia.
There are 3 main ingredients among these beverages. It is important for us as oral health professionals to recognize them not only in their simplest terms, but also be able to recognize other names for the same ingredients. First being sugar, which has other names such as cane sugar, dextrose, fructose, galactose, glucose, maltose, and sucrose. Second being ethanol. This may not be listed, but be aware it is a byproduct of fermentation. Lastly, being caffeine, which can also be found in tea, chocolate, and energy drinks. For the practicing oral health professional, we must recognize important ingredients in beverages that may affect your oral health. Educate patients of the possible implications of frequent intakes of these beverages, and assess evidence on current food and drink trends and how they can affect oral health. A few facts we learned while researching is that kombucha contains higher level of lactic acid, and excess consumption could cause lactic acidosis. This can potentially cause negative health effects if large buildup remains in the bloodstream. Almond milk production is a water-intensive procedure. This can impact the environment long-term, along with pesticide use. Cold brew coffee contains double or more caffeine than traditional hot brewed coffee.
In conclusion, all the popular beverages mentioned have health benefits along with positive and negative oral health effects. For kombucha, the health benefits are: it has antimicrobial properties, it increases metabolism, it inhibits harmful bacteria, and decreases cholesterol and cardiovascular disease. The positive oral effects are: it is an antimicrobial, it inhibits bacteria, and decreases biofilm adherence. The negative oral effects are that it is acidic and can have alcohol content. For dairy milk alternatives, the health benefits are that they are shown to be antimicrobials, have less calories than cow's milk, have added minerals and vitamins, and less saturated fat. For positive oral effects, almond beverage has a high buffering capacity, and soy milk can act as a pH buffer in acidic juices. And for the negative oral effects, compared to cow's milk, soy milk has a higher demineralization potential, and soy and almond milk both support Streptococcus mutans. And lastly, cold brew coffee. The health benefits are that it decreases the risk of cardiovascular disease, improves intestinal immune system, and decreases the risk of cirrhosis and diabetes. The positive oral effects are that it decreases the bacteria metabolism and decreases biofilm adherence. And the negative oral effects are staining, erosion, halitosis, and xerostomia.
Thank you for attending our presentation, and always remember, think before you drink.